Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Here's your host, Morgan Colby and Rick Lemon.
What's going on, Fantasy Champs?
What's up?
My name's Morgan Colby. I got Rick Lemon with me as always.
What's going on?
Free agency has been a freaking utter blur.
There's just so much that's happened.
I know, it's just been 1 week, and it's like it's been 3 months. Usually the NFL offseason, I don't think I remembered an offseason this, busy. Ever.
As we're recording this show, too, something could drop. Ian Rappaport just tweeted that the Colts have emerged as the likely landing spot for Falcons quarterback Matt Ryan. The two sides are in talks. Nothing is done as of now, but it'll almost certainly be Indy if Matt Ryan is traded.
So, and then I just got to report something about Baker Mayfield. Browns will try to trade Baker Mayfield, but it appears the Matt Ryan situation will likely be sorted out first.
Yeah.
So that means the Colts would be out on Baker. Do you think Baker could go to Atlanta, or are they just resetting?
I have no idea. No clue. I mean, if they're trading Matt Ryan, I think that's a possible landing spot, but who knows at this point? I think we should just talk about what we know for now.
I'd love to see, because they tried to get Deshaun Watson, not that Baker's Deshaun, but why wouldn't they?
No, I mean, if you're going to trade Matt Ryan, who I think you have to at this point, if I was the Falcons, I mean, I would definitely consider it. Or do you just completely rebuild? That's probably the smartest option. But then who are you drafting at quarterback? Do you draft a quarterback this year? And if not, do you sign like Marcus Mariota and just...
You know who's getting screwed in all of this?
Tank?
Jimmy.
Who? Yeah,
he
seems like the odd man out.
Yeah, he seems like the odd
I don't
man
know what's
out.
going on.
But anyway, well, we're going to get to all of this. News is literally going to break. Last offseason, everyone was talking about how the quarterback position was people were, the quarterbacks are going to swap teams and Watson was going to get traded and Rodgers
that didn't
was
happen.
Be out. And it was just a lot of nothing. And then this season, it all actually happened. So it's just
But it's even more.
I know, it's even more than I thought it would be. So, we have a different landscape entirely, and specifically the AFC, but generally in the NFL at this point, than we had 2 weeks ago. So, we're going to try to get all of this information and how it relates to fantasy football to you in this episode of the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Before we jump in, it's probably just going to be the Wild West out here. We're just probably going to start talking about randos anywhere. Probably starting with the quarterbacks. But anyway.
Try to just get fantasy relevant players, but
yes. So anyway, before we do that, check out our website, fantasychampions.com. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all those social platforms. Check us out on there. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or any other podcasting platforms, please leave a review and share this podcast with your friends. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe. Click the bell for notifications. Like and comment down below any questions you have on players pertaining to free agency, and we'll give you our feedback as to how it relates to fantasy football. We don't have inside sources, so we can't tell you if Julio Jones is going to sign with the Packers.
Julio Jones
unless Ian Report or Adam Schefter reports it middle of our show.
Yeah.
Or who's that? Josina Anderson?
Yes.
Her stuff is either right on or right not.
I mean, that's how it is with pretty mumuch everybody except Schefter and Rappaport.
And Schefter and Rappaport are starting to fade away in the distance at this point, too.
Okay, well, now Jay Glazer is probably the third guy, I would say. Well, he's in the top five.
What did he say?
Right? He said kind of the same thing Rappaport said. Falcons and Colts are in talks in a trade that will send Matt Ryan to the Colts per Jay Glazer, but nothing is done yet.
Okay. All right, well.
Ian Rappaport, 56 seconds ago. The two sides have made progress on a deal, nothing done yet, but a big few hours loom.
Okay, so if that news happens or it breaks, we'll get it to you. And how I don't want to talk about it if we don't really have to. This relates to fantasy football. It makes sense that he would go. That would be the place that they would trade Matt Ryan, because right now the QB needy teams are kind of thin.
Does that scare you as a Patriots fan? Because you said no to Baker wouldn't scare you if he was on the Colts. Would Matt Ryan scare you on the Colts?
Would it be bad for me to say Baker's better than Matt Ryan at this point in his career? He's definitely better than He's definitely better than Wentz.
Kind of a hot take.
Ryan's good. He's just old and
he is very old. But do you think he had nothing on the Falcons? I mean, he had Kyle Pitts, but for most of the season, it was Kyle Pitts and Russell Gage. Like those were his two top options. I do agree with you that Matt Ryan's not he's very old.
The last time he had a real season, like a really good season, was 2018.
Yeah.
Since then, I mean, I guess 4,400 yards and 26 touchdowns is pretty good. I'd rip my pants off if it was Mac Jones doing that.
I was going to say, you'd call him MVP.
Oh, my God. I'd all over it, dude. 4,500 yards, 26 touchdowns the following year. And then this year it was 39, 20.
I mean, that's like average to slightly above average.
But he's also 36 years old. And his last great top quarterback in the NFL season was 2018. So we're not talking about a guy that maybe can magically come out. It's not like he's going to a team either if he goes to the Colts where it's like he's taking over this, and we got to actually get to the news that in the last week there's so much to cover, but it's not like he's taking over a team that has a bunch of elite receivers and all of that. Like they have a really strong running game, and that's how they won most of their games this year. So I don't know if he's going to a situation that is any better passing the ball for him. I know it's better defensively. I know it's better in the running game, and offensive line-wise, 100% better. But outside of that, he doesn't really have anyone. They'd have to add another receiver, and then I'd start kind of changing my opinions on that. But when you look at Baker's stats, they're kind of the same. So younger and slightly better.
I don't know, man.
Well, I guess we'll find out. So if the news breaks, we'll talk about it. But let's get into some free agency / trade offseason conglomerate news. And we'll start with the quarterback position. We talked about Russ before going to the Denver Broncos, obviously changing the AFC West. So we won't talk about that here. But we did have some rumored guys to go and some signings. Did we talk about Mitch?
I don't know if we did.
On the last show. Steelers signed Mitch Trubisky 2 years.
We might have touched on it.
Yeah, we probably touched on him. It's definitely a slight upgrade over to what Big Ben did last year because he kind of blows.
Some people would disagree with you on that.
Some people love Mitch Trubisky.
And some people hate him.
Psyched. And then some people don't.
Don't think he's a top 50 quarterback in the league.
Yeah, so it could go either way. Pittsburgh obviously believes in him. There hasn't been, in my mind, there hasn't been any reports and the stuff that I've seen. I haven't seen any reports related to them being like, oh, this is going to be a QB competition between Mason Rudolph and Mitch Trubisky. They think this is the guy that they want to give a shot. So he's going to be the starter. Fantasy wise, he's at least equivalent to Big Ben.
Yeah. How it affects the rest of the team, though? Does it change anything for Deontay?
Equivalent to Big Ben, I don't know if it changes anything.
To me, it doesn't really change anything.
I think Deontay Johnson probably will see less targets.
I was gonna say maybe you move Deontay down a spot,
and I think Chase Claypool as the X receiver on the outside will probably see some more targets just based on how Trubisky plays. Mm-hmm. He's not everything had to go to Deontay in the slot because Big Ben couldn't throw it down the field. So I could see a shift slightly in target share. I still think Deontay is going to get a big target share. It's not going to be as big, but it's going to be big. And I think Chase Claypool could see not an upgrade, but an increase in target share. So,
you think the Steelers go quarterback first round still, or did they go O-line?
They're going to go O-line. I think they're going to wait till next year on the quarterback. I honestly, at this point, based on what I've been seeing at the quarterback position this offseason, I am probably going to say I'll predict two rookie quarterbacks will start next season. Everyone else is going to be relegated to a backup slot.
I even think by week 1 of 2022, I wouldn't be shocked if there's any rookies
starting at all.
Yeah. I mean, maybe one, but by the end of the year, we might see like 2.
Yeah.
But
if we talked about Mitch,
maybe 3.
We could probably give you more detail in the previous show, but those are our minor thoughts. The big one is the big fish here is Deshaun Watson and how that affects the Cleveland Browns. So that, like, I don't know if you can chronologically talk about that whole situation because it was kind of a mess from the beginning.
There's so much. I feel like we should just talk about the fantasy.
I know we should just talk about the fantasy values, but he was talking about going to the Saints, Panthers, Cleveland, and what's the other team? Falcons. And so it came down to the Falcons and the Saints, and I think the Browns thought that Baker was going to be like, "Oh, I'm fine with it, guys. Find a better quarterback than me." And then he was like, "Frick you," total Baker style. And with that being said, I think the Browns realized, okay, Baker's not going to be our quarterback. We got to maybe see if we can sweeten the pot here with Deshaun Watson. And I don't know what they told him. I don't know what they sold him. Probably that $1 million contract for the year in case he gets suspended.
It was the money.
That might be it. It probably was the money. But either way, Deshaun Watson goes to the Cleveland Browns. This is obviously really good news because this was looking bad. It was looking bad for all of the assets in Cleveland because if Baker went, they were going to have no quarterback. They're going to have Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, 2 very good fantasy assets, as well as Amari Cooper, who's a good fantasy asset, all on this team with no quarterback. And it was going to be a mess. I think it was going to be a situation for fantasy where we were going to have nobody. But obviously Watson, like if they just stuck with Baker and had Baker and Baker started, I think Cooper would have been good, but probably somewhere around mid to low end wide receiver 2. Chubb, obviously, we know he's an RB1 when he's healthy and playing well. And Hunt probably would have been a low end RB2 as well. So, like, those are the areas with Deshaun Watson now being traded to the Browns. Where do you have these guys? Assuming he plays, because that's a whole other issue.
So right. So that the first issue here is I think he's gonna play. I don't see him not playing. It's just when. It's just when he plays.
Oh yeah. I mean, like, he's going to play at some point. I'm talking about like fantasy football 2022.
Yeah. I mean, how long do you think he gets suspended for?
Based on the outcry of the Calvin Ridley suspension, there's a good shot that it's a full season. And based on the contract that they gave him, where he only is getting paid $1 million for this season, I would venture to guess that they anticipate him getting suspended for a full season as well. So,
and you think I don't know if the Browns would have given up that, and every team given up that much if they knew he was going to miss a full season.
Yeah. That's just my, like,
I mean,
go on Twitter for 5 minutes and look at because we're not going to get involved in this, but look at the backlash. Like the NFL.
When has the NFL though, like, do they care about Twitter? I mean,
they do when it starts getting mainstream, which it hasn't yet, but
yeah. I was thinking he's going to get suspended like half the year.
Yeah, and that's fair. I would say minimum 8.
I mean, if that happens right now, they signed Jacoby Brissett yesterday. So,
well, let's assume he plays.
Assume he plays the whole year?
Yeah.
Okay, so if that's the case, I think it's weird because some people will say Deshaun Watson's going to take red zone touchdowns from Nick Chubb.
Yeah.
But that may be the case, but the offense will also be 100 times better. with Deshaun Watson than Baker Mayfield if he plays the full season.
Mm-hmm.
So I think 100 times better might be an exaggeration, but it will be a lot better. So it might open up just more touchdown opportunities in general. So I think it's probably a good thing for Chubb. How can it really be a bad thing for anybody? It's definitely a good thing for Amari Cooper. Huge. We know how Deshaun Watson loves to target his main guys, like DeAndre Hopkins. And when Will Fuller became the wide receiver 1 in Houston, he was the wide receiver 7 in fantasy, in all of fantasy. So he loves targeting his main guys. So it's great for Amari Cooper. I do think they're going to sign another guy or draft another guy. Probably Will Fuller would be my guess. But either way, it's good for Amari Cooper. It's great for David Njoku.
Mm-hmm.
Austin Hooper got released, so he's the main tight end there with Harrison Bryant kind of filling the secondary role. So we could see some true fantasy relevance from him.
Yeah.
It makes the Browns you view the Browns offense differently than you have in years past, for sure.
Yeah, I agree. My real question is, because we know offensive efficiency, if he does play the whole year, is going to increase with Deshaun Watson at quarterback, which means that Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, the running backs are going to get a lot more opportunity it'll open up the ground game for them a lot more because they have to worry about Watson, but not just that. They're going to get a lot more opportunities to score. So I think, we already knew Chubb is kind of a top 12 running back lock, but now at this point, I think he's a top 10 lock for me at least. Not to, some people would say, where did we have him ranked in the early rankings? Because I can't remember.
I don't remember either.
7 or 8, but anyway. So yeah, he's gonna be good. My real thing is that the points you made are really, really good on the Amari Cooper, DeAndre Hopkins. When Watson has a number 1 wide receiver, the guy gets targeted.
He feeds him, yeah.
He feeds him. So that is a very good point and makes me okay, I like that for Amari Cooper. My problem here is Amari Cooper's not he's on the older side, but he hasn't fallen off a cliff yet. Just the way the Cowboys played last year wrote him out of the game plan a little bit, which is probably why they traded his contract and got rid of him. They didn't really need him on the outside when you have CeeDee Lamb as well. But anyway, so for him, it's if he plays like he did 2 years ago for the Cowboys, my guess is that Cooper's probably going to be a low-end wide receiver 1. And some people have said that. I don't know how I feel about that. And my other problem is that, say Watson doesn't get suspended, he comes back this year, right? Yep. He hasn't played in a full season. Is that a concern? Should it be a concern?
I don't know. If what level of quarterback was Deshaun Watson before he got hurt? Would you say he's
now with the NFL? This is my other thing that I've been dealing with. Where is he?
True.
As top quarterback
the whole
in the
year,
NFL.
it's changed a lot.
It's changed a lot. So it's you have Burrow up there now. You still have Lamar.
Herbert.
You have Herbert now. Is he even top 6?
Not sure. But so what I was going to ask you is, you have a quarterback at around that area towards ACL and training camp, and missed the entire season. He comes back. How concerned would you be for them coming back and being still a top 10 quarterback? Because to me, as long as they're young, I'm not too worried about it.
I was concerned.
And it's not like Watson got hurt
off that ankle injury.
True, but it was an injury. Deshaun Watson wasn't hurt. He was.
Yeah, that's fair.
He
just hasn't played football in a year, so he
hasn't played football. So, could he start off a little slow? Sure, but I wouldn't be too worried about his play.
Yeah. I think, Deshaun Watson as a whole next year plays the full season. Where personally would you have him ranked? Where are you going to put him?
Oh, it's a great question.
I personally
would have to look at my quarterback list.
Right now, 7 or 8.
Yeah, it would be in that range.
Yeah.
It would be in that range.
Okay. So yeah, I think this is a really good things for the Browns. Now, on the flip side of it, because we got to move on to other things, I don't think there's any other quarterback, unless you want to talk about Teddy Bridgewater becoming the backup for the Miami Dolphins.
No.
But I will say, for Deshaun Watson in the situation with the sexual assault cases, obviously a grand jury was like, no, like we can't convict this guy on innocent until proven guilty, that kind of stuff, right? We can't convict him on no evidence or information. So they were like, no, we're not going to do that. But there are the civil suits that are going to play out in court. And so essentially what's going to happen is he's going to have to deal with most of these civil suits. And I believe 18 of them were rebunked. They like got rid of them. So it might be 3 or 4 that he still has to deal with. But either way, if even one of those comes back where he has to pay the woman and it goes through court, the NFL will take action. I don't know how long.
I was going to say one of those. If even one of those comes back, he's getting suspended.
Yeah, he's getting suspended. I think the NFL might suspend him anyway, just for bad conduct. But
if they suspend him off that, how much can they really suspend him for? How many games you really?
I've seen people suspended for a long time for doing much less. So that's where I'm like, there's a real shot that he gets suspended for a whole season. If that happens, Cooper drops like a rock. Chubb, I'm not super excited about anymore. And like this whole offense. The whole thing collapses. Like, okay, yeah, they signed Jacoby Brissett. Whoa, okay, it's exciting. Like, okay. So yeah, it's concerning. I think it's going to happen after the NFL draft when people aren't paying attention to the NFL anymore. That's when I think the news is going to drop. So just pay attention to that. If nothing's come in by late August, my assumption is that he's going to play. And I think you have to start assuming that all of the fantasy assets involved in that process are going to be like that. But knowing most of the fantasy community, they'll just not draft Deshaun Watson because they don't like him anymore because of.
I mean, hey, draft. They want draft.
Yeah, but anyway, I drafted him in a dynasty league, and I might finally get some play out of him.
Rotten.
But anyway, now that we talked 22 minutes on the quarterback position, let's move to the running back. We already talked about James Conner, Chase Edmonds signing. Edmonds had some different news. They did sign Raheem Mostert, 1 year, $3.5 million. Actually, $3.1 million contract. So Mostert is going to be in some. It's going to be
the 49ers backfield. It's literally the 49ers backfield.
So I think somebody might emerge, but this is my big thing: is that the 49ers have a pass catching like specialist.
Yes,
and then they have a feature back, and Mostert is not a pass-catching specialist. So this backfield is going to be kind of a cluster, and if the Dolphins end up being hot garbage this year where they suck, I mean, they literally started the season 1-7 without the great coaching performance of Brian Flores. They probably would have been
really bad.
5-11? So it's like that team was not great, and right now they've made some improvements to the team, which is good, but I feel like this is going to be kind of a down year for the Miami Dolphins. So with that being said, there's offensively, unless like maybe Tua goes out and just lights the field on fire.
That's the only way that they can realistically take a jump. Tua has to be
right.
Take the leap that all Miami hope he's going to take. But if not, I think it's going to be a bad year.
He's basically just Mac Jones South at this point.
Essentially.
So, but with Mostert, that hurts Chase Edmonds' value. I would say quite substantially. So if he was by himself, we were talking about possibly high-end RB2. Now he's probably in the realm of low-end RB2, maybe in the RB3 range. I'm not interested in drafting him. Or trading for him in Dynasty for that matter. Mostert's dead to me. I think
every year there's a couple teams where we're like, I just don't want that backfield. I think Miami's going to be that this year.
So Mostert too is also a guy that I would avoid as well. Mm-hmm. And then I didn't actually know this. I didn't see this. Rashad Penny re-signed with the Seattle Seahawks.
Yes, he signed. Apparently, he had an offer with another team for more money, but he decided to stay in Seattle.
So the question is, you have Chris Carson returning.
I was going to say, so there was also a report that Chris Carson wants to play again this year and is ready to go.
And the Seattle Seahawks are sweaty for him?
I don't know if the Seattle Seahawks are sweaty for him, but he's sweaty to
Okay, so I love Penny. I have him in a dynasty league, and I desperately need another running back from my flex spots. And I would love Rashad Penny to be the main running back for the Seattle Seahawks. Problem: if Chris Carson does play, we know how Pete Carroll is. That offense is going to be worse. Okay. What are the actual expectations here for Rashad Penny if all that does happen? I'm gonna say he's not. Like, sell him now if you can.
Yeah, I would too. But I think by the end of the year, he's gonna, as long as he stays healthy, which is the biggest of all. If he stays healthy,
right?
But if he does, I would put him ahead of Chris Carson, right?
Yeah,
you would. Yeah, so he's the number one back still on the Seahawks, but it's just like it's a bad offense. Pete Carroll's gonna
never know. Pete Carroll loves those undrafted running backs.
Pete Carroll's going to use
gets his panties in a bunch.
Chris Carson still, and it's going to be multiple guys. But I mean, I still like Penny when he's out there. Yeah. But I mean, what is he, like a low end RB2?
Low end RB2 at this point for me. If Carson leaves, I feel like a mid range RB2 is a good range to put him. But I'm not excited about. I don't know where his capital would be in terms of redraft. If it's probably, I would imagine that it's low, and I think that would be a really good investment for your team, especially if the expectation is, mid-range RB2. If he starts bumping up into like the top 7 rounds, just because he's the only running back on Seattle and they let Chris Carson go or whatever, then I'm not really interested in that just because Seattle blows unless they go trade for Baker or something happens. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to feel about Penny. I love the player. I hate him in Seattle.
Yeah, me too.
Cordero Patterson re-signed with the Atlanta Falcons, 2 years, 10.5. Yeah, kind of gross.
People are going to draft him.
So here we go. I'm going to wait a couple months to bring my hot takes for Cordero Patterson, but people are going to go bonkers over that. When you have the regs start drafting in August, you don't have the regular fantasy community. There's going to people, and there's people in the fantasy community who are sweaty over Patterson as well. But he was a top 10 running back this year, and I am running so far south.
I saw something too where it was like the first 10 weeks of the season, he was like a top 5 running back, and then after that he was like
garbage,
pretty garbage. Yeah.
Yeah, Cordero Patterson, I am running very far away from as well. I don't know about you, Rick, but that's
I am out of there. No thanks.
But we have time. He's re-signing with Atlanta, so our takes
I'll take him in the 13th round in redraft.
Oh yeah, dude, I would smash that just for not having him last year.
Yeah, it's my last bench play.
So James White re-signed with the New England Patriots. This is really good. He's 30 and old. I am intrigued a little bit by James White. Not enough to, he's actually probably going to be valued, but the way we know Mac Jones plays the game, the way he looked in the first 2 games of the season with Mac Jones, I think he was pacing out over 1,000 yards receiving, over 100 catches. He was headed in a really interesting direction. Obviously, with the injury, there's a concern there. The Patriots are hoarding running backs at this point, so I don't know what to expect from James White, but in PPR formats with Mac Jones, if he plays the full season and he's healthy, there could be some value there.
You want to hit the breaking news sounder?
Oh, yeah.
I don't. Nice.
Hold on. I'll get this right at some point in my life.
I just want to use the sounder, man.
I know.
Breaking
There you
news.
go. There you go.
Okay, I don't even know if this is worth the breaking news, but I want it anyway. So, according to the Pat McAfee show.
Let's go, Pat McAfee.
Says the deal is getting finalized. The Colts will receive Matt Ryan. The Falcons will receive a 3rd-round pick. That is all.
Wow, that drops Jimmy G's value in the toilet.
It also drops
Baker.
Yeah.
But anyway, interesting. So yeah, what are your thoughts on James White?
He has zero fantasy relevance. I mean, in my opinion. Okay. Well, I guess in PPR leagues, Mac might dump it off to him a couple times, get him 5 catches a game.
Did you hear what I said earlier, though?
No, I was reading the news.
Hold on. So last year, James White. I'm gonna look up the paced out numbers because I want to get this right. Okay. But White with Mac Jones was getting targeted a ton, and obviously he went down, so that kind of changed.
He was getting targeted like Brandon Bolden, though, wasn't he?
No,
wasn't even more.
He had, in the 2 games he played, he had 7 targets in game 1, 6 targets in game 2. He caught 6 passes in both games, and had a touchdown. Obviously, it's a 2-game sample size, so there's really not much there. But 7 targets a game on a 16-game schedule or 17-game schedule is a pretty healthy amount of targets. Oh, there it is. Just popped up. It's 110 targets, 102 catches, 800 yards, and 4 touchdowns. And then his rushing was 76. I mean,
that's pretty good.
72. So yeah,
you want to draft James White?
I mean, I would take it. I would take it in between rounds 10 and 15. Yeah. But outside of that, not exciting. I'm just saying the PPR value is there for James.
I guess. White. Yeah. That's fair.
And Mac likes to dump it off. You called him the dump off king.
Did I say that?
Yes. Because you hate Mac Jones that much. All right, we got J.D. McKissic saying he was gonna sign with somebody else. Ended up backing out and signing.
Yeah, he was supposed to go to the Bills and then ended up going.
Yeah, it goes to the Washington Commanders. Frick you, McKissic, and frick you, Commanders. Why can't you just use Antonio Gibson like the rest of society wants you to? But you have to shove J.D. McKissic right down our throats. With that being said, kind of similar to James White fantasy value. So, interesting. Outside of that,
I don't
see Damian Williams signed with Atlanta.
Could be cut.
Yeah, that could be a cut. Ty Montgomery signed with the Patriots. I don't know what that means.
Special teams player.
Yes, you're right.
He had an 80 PFF grade in special teams last year.
Yeah, dude. Okay, I like that signing. This is what I'm talking about, hoarding running backs here. That's 4 running backs on your roster right now that are probably going to make the team, and they're also meeting with Leonard Fournette today. Like, what are you doing? What the hell are you doing? 5 running backs. It's only a Bill Belichick team where you store 5 running backs on the team. All right, let's move to the wide receiver position and see what we got there. I lost Rick for a second, but we'll start with the next wide receiver position. I paused for a while waiting for you to respond, and you didn't. So anyway, let's talk about the wide receiver position. We have a couple of different moves that we made here, or that has been made here. Devonte Adams is the first one, and it's going to be interesting to see that information come to light. I'm trying to get Rick back here. Give me 1 second, guys. Yeah, so we're going to talk about Devonte Adams. There's also been like a ton of news surrounding that particular position, and a lot of rumors. There's still some guys on the market right now that could actually be signed. We still got OBJ out there. We still got guys like OBJ, Antonio Brown, which I don't know if he's ever gonna get signed. We have guys. We have like Julio Jones who got cut. So we have a couple of different guys that are going to end up signing. And if that news comes in while we're on the show, we will get it to you. But with that being said, Rick, welcome back.
I was going to say, I don't know what happened.
Yeah. Ignore that sound.
Yeah.
So, anyway. So, like I was saying, the first piece of news that we're going to talk about at the wide receiver position is Devonte Adams. He obviously got franchise tagged by the Green Bay Packers, and then he was traded to the Las Vegas Raiders and got a new 5-year contract, shiny new $140 million contract. At 29 years old, that seems like a little bit of an overpay, in my opinion.
Yeah,
but Adams, ridiculously good.
He's Devonte Adams. So
now, news has broke.
I was going to say, it is official now.
It is official.
We've been talking about it all show.
Yes, the Jimmy G.
So the breaking news. So we got it before.
We got it first, and we're gonna post this in a day or two.
Yeah, I know.
Great. So anyway, Devonte Adams goes to the Las Vegas Raiders. I don't know about you, Rick, but hot takes first. I don't really like this for him.
For Matt Ryan?
Adams. I'm talking about Devonte Adams.
Oh, okay. So we're not talking about the trade.
No, we're not talking about the trade right now.
Okay, all right. You don't like it for Devonte Adams. Yeah. I mean,
I don't like it for Devonte Adams.
I don't mind it. I think it's worse than Green Bay. So where was he? Wide receiver 2?
Yeah.
Wide receiver 1. I think he's probably wide receiver 4 or 5 now.
I would go lower than that. I would say low end wide receiver 1.
Okay. Because I'm
looking at, hold on, I wanted to pull up last year's statistics for the Raiders. The Vegas Raiders.
So here's what I'll say about the Raiders, though, and Derek Carr specifically.
You also got to factor in Josh McDaniels too. So
true. But let's just for now, Derek Carr, right?
Okay.
He threw 4,800 yards last year. His problem was he only had 23 touchdowns. Devonte Adams gets in that offense.
Yeah,
I think he's throwing 30 plus touchdowns next year. So he's got the yards already to allow Adams to have a monster fantasy season.
Yeah.
It'll just be the touchdowns. I think it's possible. It's obviously not going to be the same as Green Bay. There's going to be value lost there for sure.
Yeah, and I think,
and then when it comes to McDaniels, I don't know.
Well, and this is my thing is that I think what Carr is, quarterback stylistically, is what Josh McDaniels, Tom Brady is, I guess, if that makes any sense. So
yes, it is.
In McDaniels' system, it's not going to change because he has a different, he has like a speedy quarterback. Like it is what it is, and the quarterback's not going to change. So with Carr, I would imagine that they're going to run a similar system that they did, with Tom Brady. And I don't know if you remember back in the Brandon Cooks days, and I don't know what he looked like as a fantasy wide receiver, but which wasn't bad. But no, I feel like Adams is
definitely
Adams is better, and we all understand that as a fantasy community. But like the way McDaniels and the Patriots run their system,
yes,
it's going to be different. There's not going to be 160 targets to Devonte Adams. It's probably going to be like 130 to 140. And with that being said, there will be a decrease. For me, I would not be shocked if Adams ends up between 7 and 10. I'm curious where if the rankings have changed. The ECR has changed.
That's honestly fair. I think the more I think about it, I don't know if I'd put him quite as low as you, but I don't know if he's in my top.
I just think and me and Rick were arguing over the weekend. Rick is he's triggered because we're Pats fans and everyone else is getting better and we're not. But we had an argument with each other over the weekend about whether or not like I'm underhyping the AFC additions and he's overhyping the AFC additions. So from what we've seen so far is Rick is typically overhyping some of these things. So like this move to the Raiders, he's like, all right, he's going to take a hit, but he's going to be wide receiver 5, where I'm like, all right, we know what the Raiders are. I've seen Josh McDaniels run an offense. I'm putting him at wide receiver 7 or 8.
I just said I don't know if he's in my top.
He's wide receiver 4 right now, Devonte Adams. He's still there. If my computer would load. Yeah, he's still there.
Let me look real quick. I have to look.
He's like, I gotta look it up.
Yeah, I gotta check where everybody's ranked right now, and if I would have, Because he was my wide receiver too.
I would take Cooper Kupp over him.
Mm-hmm.
Jamar
Okay, I
Chase,
agree.
Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, Debo. This is in no particular order.
You would take Debo. That's a 180 for you. Okay. Would you take Lamb?
I love Lamb. I forgot where I ranked him, but yes. I would say probably 6 to 8 is where I'd end up having him, depending on where my takes are. I don't like Debo that high, so like I think I had Debo like 9 on my rankings. Like I like him, but I don't like him that much. So like with that being said, some of these guys like I would take Kupp, Chase, Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, Diggs, maybe Brown.
I don't think I'd put Adams lower than 7. The guy who I think also takes a hit is Darren Waller. And now I know McDaniels likes the tight ends. But was it McDaniels that likes the tight ends, or is it the quarterbacks? I mean, I guess it doesn't matter. But he's still going to be used, don't get me wrong.
It depends on if he wants to run 2 tight end sets. If he does...
It's going to be red zone, though, too.
Yeah.
Darren Waller has been the obvious red zone guy. And now with Devonte Adams there, who's the number one option in red zone? Is it Waller or is it Devonte Adams? I think it's Devonte Adams.
Yeah, I would say Devonte Adams too. Yeah, Waller definitely takes a big hit with this move because I think he's still going to get targeted and still be a top 5 tight end, but that's probably the biggest hit. Him and Renfrow. But that also depends on, like, Renfrow is a safety blanket for Derek Carr. So, like, does that continue to be a thing where he is a slot receiver for him and you know, when they need a play underneath, they hit him with it?
Mm-hmm.
But I think he takes a hit as well. So the big thing is that Carr typically likes to spread the ball around when he has weapons. And I think that's going to be the big thing where Adams is walking into a situation where there's not a lot of vacated targets. And like he has to take targets from other people, and those 2 people are going to be Renfrow and Waller. So that hits the fantasy value of them, and it also hits the fantasy value of Adams because, like I said, not a lot of vacated targets. So he's taking targets from people at this point.
Right.
So
that's fair.
I'm not excited about the Devonte Adams to the Raiders thing. I'm not.
As the vacated targets.
What are you going to say?
Zay Jones.
Oh, yeah. Oh, boy.
Yeah, that's 70 vacated targets right there.
Oh, there you go.
I think Bryan Edwards is dead. He's going to get 10 targets.
Yeah, he's probably going to take targets from Bryan Edwards, but
yeah, I mean, they also might throw the ball a little bit more, but who knows?
Yeah. All right. So let's move on to some other guys. Chris Godwin re-signs with Tampa. Brady obviously came back over the last week as well. So that
with
I would
Brady
say,
there,
with Brady there, it's status quo for Chris Godwin. I'm curious. I want to analyze him a little bit further moving into the offseason with the offense and see where that kind of situation plays out with Chris Godwin, because last year he was the wide receiver. He got hurt too, right?
He got hurt. Yeah. What week did he get hurt though? Because I think before he got hurt, he was a low end wide receiver 1, wasn't he?
Something like that. Based on the points per game. Wow, hold on.
Good job.
Chris Godwin was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 to 12 in points per game.
Yeah. Low end wide receiver 1.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't think I'm going to rank him there. I think I'm safer, probably between 12 team.
I'm looking at the list.
Receiver 1.
I think he'd probably be wide receiver 13, 14.
Yeah, I agree. So that's a good thing for Chris Godwin. I was concerned last week when he re-signed with the Bucs.
That's about 5-6 spots higher than I had him before. So
maybe the Bucs knew. Maybe the Bucs knew Brady was going to come back, because why would Chris Godwin re-sign
the franchise tag? Yeah, and then he re-signed. Yeah. He originally signed the tag though, didn't he? Before the Brady news.
No.
Oh, he didn't. I could have sworn
he straight out re-signed. I think they.
I know he re-signed, but before he re-signed and before the Brady news, I'm pretty sure he signed the franchise tag. Like he agreed to play on the tag for another year. We talked about that in one of our shows.
Oh well. Anyway, Chris Godwin back to the Bucs, re-signs 3 years, $60 million. Mike, we talked about Mike Williams. He re-signed with the Chargers, $60 million, so they get their ex-receiver on the outside. Gallup re-signed with the Dallas Cowboys, 5 years, $62.5 million. What the hell are you doing, Dallas? What are you doing?
That's actually not a bad deal.
They're both $62 million for Michael Gallup.
That's 12 million a year.
Okay, all right, whatever.
I mean, it's a lot, but what would he have gotten in the open market?
That's fair.
Christian Kirk got 22, and I could make the argument Michael Gallup's a better receiver.
After Christian Kirk, everyone kind of looked at that deal and said, "Those guys are idiots," and then
true.
Everything else.
That is very true. That's very true. But what did Chark get? Like 11?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess. Yeah, I mean, it's not.
It's a lot.
It is a lot, but I mean, he for a wide receiver too. That's not awful. 12 million a year for a wide receiver too. That's not awful.
I'm just going through the re-signs really quickly. Braxton Berrios re-signed with the Jets, 2 years, 12. Re-signed Carolina Panthers. Okay, these wide receivers are 0. Doesn't really matter there. All right, yeah. So, and Khalif Raymond re-signed with the Detroit Lions. Freaking
wow.
A-Rob is this is in no particular order, by the way, but A-Rob decided where he was going to play. It wasn't with the Kansas City Chiefs. It wasn't with the New England Patriots. It wasn't with any the teams that were interested in him. It was a random team that we were surprised by, and that was the Los Angeles Rams. 3 years, $45 million. A good contract for A-Rob and for the Rams. They keep stacking over there. They keep stacking assets. And the rumor is they might bring back Odell after trading Bob Woods to the Tennessee Titans. To so much news. So much friggin' news. I can't do it all in one show. It's ridiculous.
I know.
But anyway.
This is so much.
We're getting close. So Allen Robinson with the Los Angeles Rams. What are your thoughts with this move? What kind of role? Does he play a similar role to Bobby Trees?
Yes. I think that's exactly the role he plays.
Okay, so if we extrapolate that into a season, would we say he's a high-end wide receiver too?
Yes, but if they re-sign Odell as well, which they want to do apparently, they want all three, Cooper Kupp, Odell, Allen Robinson, which is overkill.
Yeah.
But Odell is actually, so if they do re-sign Odell for redraft, Allen Robinson still should be relevant because Odell's probably going to miss the first half of the season, or at least the beginning of the season next year because he tore his ACL in February of the Super Bowl. So a 9-month recovery off an ACL would be, what is that, December?
Yeah.
Either December or November. So that's a good chunk of the season right there. Now he might be able to recover a little sooner, but still, it's like
he's not.
October at the earliest.
ACL
so he's still going to, at the earliest, he's going to miss like the first few games of the season. So Allen Robinson should still be relevant.
Yeah.
I would say, I mean, again, I'm looking at this list. I don't know where I'd put him. Maybe like around wide receiver 20. Would you say 20 to 25?
I would say between 15 to 20.
Okay, so you're a little higher.
Yeah. And when I say like high-end wide receiver too, that is probably like the range.
I don't know. Yeah, I could see that.
It's just where I'm just putting him where Bob Woods lands. Is where I'm like at this point, and we'll see where he ends up.
What about Bob Woods when Odell was there, and they had Odell, Cooper Kupp?
I don't. This is my big thing though, is that by the time Odell gets back, the fantasy season is going to be like 2 weeks.
I don't know if he's going to miss that much.
He got hurt in February, and ACLs take longer than 9 months to recover. And if he's playing in December, like your fantasy season there are some in week 17, which is like
there are some people who are
Christmas
insane and can recover off an ACL in 6 months.
Is Odell at 30 years old? No.
True.
I just think if they do sign Odell, which I honestly at this point looking at this in this more at a macro level, I feel like Odell Beckham signing with the Los Angeles Rams, it's not happening. Like, the Rams can want Odell, but does Odell want to go play third fiddle?
I don't think he does.
So he got his chip, he got his ring. He doesn't care about the Rams. He doesn't care about running it back. He doesn't care about the fan base. He got his ring, and he's not going to get paid because he got hurt. But, like, does he want to play third fiddle and get 100 targets on the season and barely, like, play? Or does he want to come to a team that he's going to actually play for whenever that time does come? So, I don't know. I just don't think the Rams want him, but I don't think Odell's going to want the Rams now that they signed Robinson. If they hadn't signed Robinson, Odell locked to the Rams. But so I'm assuming that my mid-range wide receiver 2 analysis is based on Odell not being there and Odell not playing until like December if he does go back. Worst case scenario, you'll get him for the whole season. Are you reading something?
Yeah, it's just rumors that Julio Jones is going to sign with the Colts. And I don't know. It's not from a real, not from Schefter. Because Matt Ryan's there, and they have Michael Pittman. He's going to be the number 2, and here we go. I don't know, but yeah, Allen Robinson. He's at least. Yeah, I know. This is sad. It's very sad.
Honestly, I want some parity. Like, I want some people to go to the NFC. I don't get it. I don't get it. Like, why did Deshaun Watson go? You know what's a great idea? I'm going to go play in the same conference as Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes,
Russell Wilson,
Justin Herbert. Woohoo! Good luck winning, Deshaun. Have fun in hell. I can't. I'd like to see the NFC get some people. It's going to be.
And the saddest thing is the NFC, like, all the young players are in the AFC too. Like, the old good players, like Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, those guys are going to be gone in like 3 years.
Right.
But Justin Herbert's not going to be gone in 3 years. Josh Allen, Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Deshaun Watson, those guys are not going to be gone in 3 years.
Right. It's ridiculous. But anyway, we have a couple more signings that we got to get to. I'm just going to blow through the tight end ones when we get there because nothing happened at that position besides franchise tags. And there was some offensive line moves, but we're not going to get into those. The Bengals made some significant improvements, so that's all you need to know. But are all your thoughts out on Allen Robinson?
Yes.
Okay. Juju Smith-Schuster signed with the Kansas City Chiefs, so he's going to play that wide receiver 2 role that what's his name had for a while.
Sammy Watkins.
And Watkins, when he was playing in that wide receiver 2 role, was actually a decent fantasy asset. It's just he couldn't stay healthy.
And I think Juju is better than Sammy Watkins at this point in their careers.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Watkins at the end of his career versus Juju in, I think, the prime.
Yeah, 100%. So when you look at Juju, though, I think this is going to reduce the target share for a guy like, I kind of hate this. Like a team should not be able to stack talent like this. It's making me angry. But anyway, I think this is going to reduce the Tyreek Hill target share slightly. I think that this will spell the situation with Travis Kelce a little bit where he's getting older, and I think they'll take some targets away from him. And then I feel like there was like a conglomerate of mismatched like target share to Byron Pringle, Mia Cole Hardman, like some of that stuff. I think Hardman's still going to get work, but not as much. So Juju's going to basically soak up all of the extra work that didn't go to Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. So that could be 120 to 130 targets. I think he becomes, if he stays healthy, he becomes a decent fantasy asset on the low end wide receiver 2 range. Maybe even wide receiver 3. I think people are going to get really hyped up about this, but I don't know how Mahomes can carry a successful fantasy season for 3 wide receivers, let alone just 2. Have we seen that happen outside of Los Angeles with the Rams back in the day with Bobby Woods and Cooper Kupp and Brandon Cooks?
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, if anyone can do it, it's Mahomes.
Yeah,
so.
That's for sure. I think you could see low-end wide receiver too. I think that's not an unfair place to put him, but we'll see what happens.
Possibly. We never even talked. Did we talk about Christian Kirk fantasy value?
We talked about Christian Kirk last week.
did.
I think we just made fun of the Jaguars.
Yeah, I don't know if we talked. I mean,
do you have any other thoughts on Juju though?
Yeah, I like Juju to the Chiefs. Actually, I think he, like you said, plays the same Watkins.
I mean, he's obviously more valuable than he was before.
I think he's more valuable than he was on the Steelers, so it's better for that. But I still don't think he's what we hoped he would be a couple of years ago, and he has a ceiling. But I do like it though, and if you owned Juju in Dynasty, I think it's a good thing because his value to me did go up.
Yeah. So we only have 2 more signings to talk about realistically, and it's Chark signing with the Detroit Lions and Christian Kirk signing with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, we talked about how dumb a contract that Christian Kirk got. As far as fantasy value, we might have talked about that. I'm not excited about Christian Kirk. I'm shopping him in some deals. I think Lawrence is definitely going to take a step forward this year. I don't know how large it's going to be. We'll see as the offseason goes along. They've made some moves, but I don't think Kirk is like a big time wide receiver 1 ad for Jacksonville, or at least he's not that type of player. So I kind of don't know. Personally, I don't know what his value is for me.
I don't know either.
I look at him and I'm like, what should he be valued as?
In Dynasty and then in redraft, I don't know.
Like, I'd say wide receiver 3 high end in redraft.
Yeah. I'd probably agree with that. High end wide receiver 3. And then like middle to late second round pick in Dynasty.
I forgot I was negotiating some deal and I couldn't remember what exactly it was for Christian Kirk. He just threw it out there. I think it was for a quarterback. Oh, I know what it was. It was for old man TB12.
Oh, Christian Kirk?
Yeah. Would you do that?
Trade TB12 for Kirk? Or trade Kirk for TB12?
Well, trade TB12 for Kirk.
Is it Superflex or a single quarterback?
Yeah, Superflex.
I'd rather have Tom Brady.
Okay. All right.
But, I mean, that's only, like, if you're in win now. Is it a bad
offer? That's the question.
You're in win now. No, it's not a bad offer.
Yeah. Okay. All right, and then Chark signed with the Detroit Lions, 1 year, $10 million. I think this is like a prove-it deal to a team that doesn't really have a lot of receivers. I've heard about that. I've heard a lot of people talk about how this damages Amon-Ra, and I think if you had Amon-Ra in Dynasty, your chance to sell him is over, because I feel like a lot of people are going to have some sour opinions now that Chark is there and stuff like that. But I will say, I think this is a good thing for the Detroit Lions, and I think this is a good thing for Chark's fantasy value. Obviously, leaving Jacksonville with Trevor Lawrence sucks if Trevor Lawrence takes a step, but I think for DJ Chark, he's going to get some opportunity. Now, there are some arguments that these two can't coexist, that Chark and Amon-Ra can't coexist. Amon-Ra plays the slot, and I don't know why people think that
Chark is strictly outside.
Yeah, he's an outside receiver that runs really fast one way. So
the only thing I could see it being a negative is just pure target share, since Detroit isn't going to throw the ball 800 times.
Yeah, I mean, they might, because they are still not very good.
True, but you know how Dan Campbell was.
Yeah, he gets sweaty. He gets sweaty over the losers.
Physical ball, run the ball, physical.
It was just funny because DJ Chark is not a physical receiver.
No, he's not. I kind of disagree with you in the sense where, like, I liked Chark more in Jacksonville than Detroit, simply for the fact of the potential upside of Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, that's fair. No, that's exactly what I was saying.
It seemed like they had a decent chemistry together, and if Trevor Lawrence takes that step like everybody expects him to, like I expect him to.
Yeah, but there's nothing. So I don't want to argue that Trevor Lawrence isn't going to take a step, because he's going to get better. Mm-hmm. But I would argue that Jacksonville hasn't done anything this offseason.
Oh, no, hindsight's 2020. Okay, because as of right now, I still think he's going to get better because he was just really bad last year.
Oh, yeah.
But Jacksonville might ruin Trevor Lawrence.
Oh, 100%. I'm just saying, like, I think Lawrence is good enough to overcome the suck, because the Colts were bad before Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
And so, like, I feel like he can overcome the suck. It's just he's going to develop slower than what you see out of your normal quarterbacks. Like Baker had a fantastic rookie season, Baker Mayfield.
You think it's going to be more like a Josh Allen type of?
Yes, yeah. And it's going to take them time to, when they get him a real wide receiver one and not Christian
Peyton
Kirk.
Manning was actually kind of like that. His first 2 years in the league, he was kind of trash.
Yep. It just took time. And I think we've all seen these second year leaps from guys like Mahomes. And I think you're going to see Justin Fields. You're going to see people like Justin Fields. You're going to see people like Trevor Lawrence struggle out the gate here just in the first couple years because they don't really have anything around them. They don't have a good team. They changed coaching staffs. Both of them have this offseason. So it's a lot of moving pieces for them. And I don't know if it's going to be like a light up the sky like Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson was. And you look at the common themes among those situations. Where were they? Good football teams.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to take some time for those guys to develop. Even Zach Wilson too. I think everyone's like, oh, yeah, second year leap. And I'm like, no, he's going to get better this year. He's going to improve, but he's not going to be the quarterback that people anticipate. And it's going to take 2 or 3 years for that. Whereas guys like Mac Jones and guys like Trey Lance, and I'm saying this, I don't even really like Trey Lance from not from a fantasy perspective, from a real life perspective, but he's on a better football team than all 3 of those guys.
Correct.
And if he plays, there's rumors floating around they might keep Jimmy G because the market's soft. So that could be a thing. But
Marcus Mariota is expected to
sign with I saw
the Falcons. Okay.
Sign with the Falcons. But but when you look at Trey Lance, he's on a really good team, so he could take a big leap next year, similar to the Mahomes leap, but he could take a big leap. Mac Jones, he's had some changes there, but he's still on a good football team with some offensive weapons. So I feel like he and Trey Lance are in a better position than Zach Wilson, Trevor Lawrence, and Justin Fields are. So that is just my thoughts and opinion. I don't think there's going to be a massive second-year leap for Lawrence. If there is, then Chark missed out.
Yep.
So anyway, we got to move along. But yeah, I think Chark and Amon-Ra can coexist.
Yeah, they can. They can. I just don't know if there's enough touchdowns and receptions or targets, I should say, to go around. But they can definitely coexist as players.
Yeah. All right. So moving down the list here to tight ends, Gesicki was franchise tagged. Mm-hmm. Dalton Schultz was franchise tagged. Gronk has not signed, but he's probably going to Tampa. Mm-hmm. And when I say probably, it's probably 99.9% chance that happens. Njoku was franchise tagged by Cleveland, and then they got rid of Hoop. There it is. So Austin Hooper's gone, and Njoku stays with Cleveland, which is a good thing. We talked about that. I think we talked about that earlier with the Deshaun Watson stuff. Yep. Zach Gertsby signed with Arizona. 3 years, $31.6 million. It's a lot of money. Didn't see that happen.
And term for the guy who's 31 years old, right?
So, yes, somewhere around that age. And what he did last year is what you're going to get out of Zach Ertz.
He was good in Arizona.
He was good in Arizona. He was decent. I think he's more apt to be a blocker. So, he's going to be a low-end tight end 1 next year. But I wouldn't expect anything big out of Zach Ertz. I think some people are going to try to draft him in that vicinity.
The emergence of Bob Tonyan 2.0 with all the receivers gone, re-signed with Green Bay.
I know. That's funny. Yeah, that's a good thing, I think.
I think it is. I mean, nobody's talking
with
about
no one's
it.
there, yeah. If they don't have a receiver, Tanyan's about to become tight end 1.
You're gonna have a Dawson Knox type year.
Gerald Everett signed with the I think these 2 moves are the biggest. Resign Will Dissly, by the way, to Seattle Seahawks. But Evan Ingram signed with the Jacksonville Jaguars, 1 year, $9 million. It's a big contract for a guy.
I actually don't mind that one.
I don't mind it at all. I watched some tape of Trevor Lawrence a couple days ago. I think Ingram is definitely going to get targeted a lot by him. If he stays healthy, I think he can creep into that tight end 1 low end conversation too. Gerald Everett goes back to Los Angeles, but he switches teams and goes to the Rams. I don't know how I feel. Like, obviously, it's really good for Gerald Everett, but I don't know how I feel about Gerald Everett in general. So he could be a low-end tight end one with that signing, too. But that's the tight ends. Oh,
Gerald
Austin
Everett,
Hooper
that's a
signed
good
with
spot.
Tennessee. I didn't know that.
Oh, he did? I didn't know that.
Yeah, 1 year, $6
That's
million.
a good. That's a good landing spot.
Yeah, it's a good landing spot for him. Yeah, and outside of that, that's all the moves that we have besides the Tannehill one after an hour and 5 minutes. This show's always long.
Yeah.
And a random cutout in between for me to ramble while Rick tries to figure out how to get back on Zoom. It's always the first Zoom call. We should just like chat for an hour, let the Zoom crash.
And then figure it out.
But anyway, there are all your free agent moves. And one live. Or trade live on the show. We reported. You heard it here first. Unfortunately, you didn't because we didn't post this until Tuesday. But
We technically had it before Sheffield.
yeah, had it before Schuster. But anyway, we'll talk to you later, guys.
Later.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and YouTube and follow us on Twitter @TheFFChamps.